Hello, welcome to Tiffany Teach Tuesday. I know it's been a while since I've been on, just a lot going on in life, and I am grateful. But I had to come on today to talk about some of the changes that's taking place in real estate over the past couple of years. As my attorney would say, the things that have happened while we were sleeping. And it has been a lot of crazy laws implemented and changes to the mortgage industry that's implemented. And I don't want our people to think these changes are as great as they appear to be. They're good, absolutely. I think it's good that it allows access and people to get things, but you have to understand when they make changes and rules and laws that you think that is supporting the masses of people, is really they are behind the scenes doing some things that's going to destroy the masses of people. So I said, let me get on here. I haven't been, it's been a while, and let me drop some gems for you. So I'm going to talk about the first law that has passed. Well, I don't know if it's a law, bill, whatever, in the mortgage industry. And it's about if you have a 680 or higher credit score, your mortgage interest rates will be higher than someone who has a lower credit score. Now, I know that sounds crazy. It does. It sounds insane. So, for you having a higher credit score, working hard to build your credit, and you're ready to purchase a home, your mortgage payments are going to be anywhere from $40 to $120 more per month versus someone who has been struggling, trying to get their score up and get to where they need to be. Now, I will say that it's kind of fair, but not unfair. It's a median there. Why? It has been known that people of color credit scores are rated different. There's a level of bias that's there when it comes to the credit score. Their credit score is affected differently than people who are not of color. So our credit scores are a little less. If I was compared to someone that was not of color, their credit score would be higher, and we can have the same amount of credit, the same amount of debt, been on a job at the same time. If you took someone who was of color and had the same credentials and same credit rating, um, inquiries and things on their credit report versus someone that was not of color, their score would be higher by points. So I get it. They're trying to remove the biasness from it. But the thing is, it doesn't matter because whether you're a person of color or not, if your credit score is less than 680, you're still going to reap the benefits of having a less than 680 credit score. So I say this because don't allow this here to keep you from being where you need to be financially, because it's going to be some changes. So we're in a time now, credit is important. Before, credit was not important. If you had cash, cash was king. That is going away. Let's watch this. While we were sleeping during the pandemic, they talked about you couldn't utilize coins because there was a coin shortage. So in my head, I'm like, how do you have a coin shortage when we can't spend any money because we stuck in the house? You stopped making the coins. What happened to all the coins that were out there? So they said there was a coin shortage. Okay. So the whole purpose of this coin shortage is to get people comfortable with using digital money, right? So now cash is no longer king because you'll go into a facility and they'll tell you, we do not accept cash here anymore. So if credit was not important and cash was, it wouldn't matter what your credit score was if you had cash. But now that changes because if you don't you can't use cash, then your credit score really does matter. because you need credit to make purchases. If you have a low credit score, that reduces your purchasing power. Yes, you can get finance for a home, but let's talk about all the other things you utilize credit for. So they didn't say if you had a low credit score, you couldn't get a credit. If your lower credit score would give you lower interest rate on your credit card, because people with higher credit scores have lower interest rates on their credit cards. Your debt to income ratio makes a difference, because with your credit card being credit card interest rates being low, that makes you have to make lower minimum payments and paying less in interest over time. So again, don't let this hype about having a lower credit score to purchase a home affect your thought process about the long-term goals and objectives. Okay, so we talked about that. Now, let's get on some real issues. We need to pay more attention to what's going on in the world and not just in the United States. United States is no longer the powerhouse of the country that we used to be. 80% of our country is owned by some other country because we're so in debt, because we're a country of consumers. So, again, even if you had a low credit score and you can purchase a home, if you don't know how to manage your money, you're not going to own a home. And if you do begin to own a home, you will lose it, because it has nothing to do with the credit score. It has to do with money management. Because of your lack of money management is why your credit score is low a lot of times. And people say, I can't get out of debt. So you go get a second credit card, but you're already in debt with the first credit card. It doesn't help the situation. You don't change your spending habits. See, if you're mentally broke, you'll be financially broke. So instead of getting a second credit card, cut back on your expenses. You have to learn to sacrifice something in order to get a greater reward. But we're in a country that we don't sacrifice anything anymore. We are entitled to everything, and we are suffering. And we're telling people that we're going to reward you for not doing what you're supposed to do. It's just, again, continuing to break the mind. So if you was not paying attention to the global issue, let's talk about what's going on globally. Right now, Russia, China, and Saudi Arabia have linked together and decided that they no longer want to accept American dollars. Well, that's a problem, because China owns majority of America. So they also decided to bring in some other countries and decided that at this point, they no longer want to give fuel to America oil to America until the end of the year. If that happens, let's explain. We are going into a recession, and we're in a recession now, but it's going to get harder. If these countries who supply us all of our oil decide not all of it, but majority of our oil decides not to give us any oil until the end of the year, it's going to affect the gas prices. If the gas prices are affected by this boycott of America, that means our goods that we purchase will increase. Because remember, we build nothing in America anymore. Everything we have comes from other countries, and primarily it's China. It says made in China. It used to say made in America. So if when they bring and decide to ship merchandise to America, when they get to the yard, the train yards and the water ports, the merchandise have to be transported to the stores by what? Trucks. If oil prices go up, that means truck delivery of our goods will go up. And who are they going to pass those costs on to? Us, the American people, the consumers. And I'm not talking about for material things like purses, shoes, and clothes. I'm talking about things we need to survive. Food. So With this being said, you need to curb your spending and learn how to live with less to get more out of life. Now, with all of that being said, those are the things that are taking place that are affecting the real estate industry. Because if you cannot afford to live comfortably, that's going to be a problem. For anyone that has taken Psychology 101, there's something called the Maslow hierarchy of need. And the first level that needs to be met is safety, shelter, and security. And people are going to make that met by any means necessary. So let's think about it. Everybody wants shelter. Even homeless people have shelter. It may be under a bridge, under a tent, but they have shelter. They're going to do what they need to do to eat and survive. So you're now being put on notice to change and curb your spending because we're going into a recession. Now, in Chicago, while we were sleeping in Chicago and Cook County, they passed some laws. Now, our new mayor, Brandon Johnson, was a part of this, and our former mayor that is about to leave out, Lori Lightfield, was implementation of these laws that changed. And I know people say, that's good. They should have been did it. But again, they're setting you up for failure. Because if everything is given to you, I come in from an old school teacher, they tell me a spiritual family, much is given, that is much is required, as has to be given. You have to give something to receive something. I believe in, if you keep your hands closed like this, God can't put anything in it, but you open it, he'll give you enough abundance to pass on to other people. We're constantly giving, and they're constantly giving us, but we're not giving anything back. So the new law that passed in Cook County was, if you have a felony, they no longer can go back any further than 3 years to check your criminal background. It's fair in some instances, but sometimes it's not. So let's get this clear. Let's say somebody committed rape, somebody murdered someone, somebody was a child molester, and they got convicted of these charges. They were drug dealers, and they got convicted of these charges in 2019, and they got 3 years for them. They served 3 years, so they get out in 2021, and now in 2023, they're applying for an apartment. People that own apartments cannot use that as a reason not to rent to them. And I know those individuals who committed those crimes feel like that's fair, but let's be fair here. What about that person who's been put into the system but has not truly been reformed? And now I'm a single mother, or I'm a working class person, and that person has not truly been reformed, and now they live in the building next to me and they're committing the same crimes they used to commit before. Now I'm putting the pressure on the landlord to do something about it, but the landlord has nothing that they can do because they feel just as threatened as you do. Now, they can't stay in housing projects, the government housing, if they have these backgrounds, but we as owners of properties have to accept them. Make it make sense to me. If they get caught doing drugs or doing something illegal in my building, I'm, as the owner, is responsible for it, but I had to let them stay there. But it's okay, because at the end of the day, we have to do what we need to do to make sure everything is safe for everyone. And 3 years, are they really reformed? I don't know, but I have to abide by the law. So do note that someone that may be dangerous to you will live in the building next to you. But this is for the helping of the betterment of the people, I guess. Then they passed another law that they no longer take security deposits. And I know people say, that's good. They shouldn't be taking a security deposit. But if you were someone that owned a property and you move somebody in for a $250 or $500 move-in fee, and they damaged your property, and you have nothing to make them accountable for other than to take them to court in a system that's taking forever to put people out and even charge people for things that they have destroyed, and you can't recoup any of your money. But if I got a security deposit from them, I will be able to at least make them accountable, because most people want their lump sum of monies back. So they're more likely to maintain your property, because it's all about conditioning. But that's okay, because this only affects Cook County, not Chicago. In Chicago, they can still collect security deposits. Let me make sure I covered everything that I needed to cover. So I hope that, oh, and then last but not least, we cannot give, there are no longer any 30-day notices. So if you're on 30-day notice with the landlord has to give you a 60-day notice to vacate in Cook County. In Chicago, we have a sliding scale, 30 days if you've been there for less than 90 days, 60 days you've been there for 90 days, up to 2 years, and then up to 2 years or more, we have to give you a 180-day notice to vacate. And I think it's unfair, because if me and you don't get along and I'm ready for you to move, and you're on a month-to-month lease, I think I should be able to ask you to leave in 30 days. But the law changed and I have to deal with you. And it's okay. Because at the end of the day, everything they put in place that the masses feel that they are benefiting from, there is going to harm them, because all they're doing is conditioning your mind to believe that these things are for you and get you comfortable. See, I have to give you something to make you believe that I have your best interest at heart while I'm in the background destroying your life. So at the end of the day, you have to be mindful and pay attention to the small, finer print and not the bigger picture, because we're coming into a society that is going to be the haves and the have-nots. They're going to be removing the middle class America. And how are they doing that? By implementing things that are not helpful to the people, but the people think they have their best interest at heart. So I hope that you learned something from us today on Tiffany Teach Tuesday, and you all have a wonderful, blessed day. Thank you again for always tuning in.